First off, you have to identify where you think deer are bedding, and then you go into that area and you start looking for less desirable trees. When you find those less desirable trees, you make a cut on them about waist high or to chest high, and the end goal in mind is to drop a tree and try to keep the top, or you fall the top on the ground with the base of the tree or the trunk suspended in the air, like this one right here. This particular tree is a hard maple. I'm not for sure what year it was cut, but what I like to do is come into these areas where that I've identified as bedding areas and do hinge cutting on an annual basis. I don't come in and do the entire area at the same time. I just come back year after year, pick 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 trees and do a hinge cut. That way the overall area or habitat has a lot of diversity in it. It's not all at the same level of growth. So what you're trying to do with this practice is, I consider it probably the most beneficial or economical way to improve deer bedding areas or habitat. And the reason being, all it takes is a chainsaw, some gas and oil, and a little bit of manpower to accomplish what you're trying to do. So the reason I say that I consider it the most beneficial is because I believe it's threefold beneficial. Number one, when you drop a tree down like this, it takes away a lot of summertime canopy that restricts or prohibits sunlight coming to the forest floor. So when you do that, you take away this canopy, you're letting the sunlight in, and it creates a tremendous amount of new growth on the forest floor. Often it can be plants that the deer like to browse on, green vegetation, or it can be briars and stickers of some sort that provide additional deer cover. Number two, it provides a nice place for the deer to bed. As you look at these suspended trees, ideally you want to suspend them, and then you get them, they'll start growing branches upward off of the base. Over here is a hickory that is doing quite well. It's growing multiple branches upward that are 3 and 4 feet, some of them lower. But in the spring and summertime, as those branches grow leaves, the deer can come right in, head high, and just start nipping on the green vegetation or the leaves that hickory tree is providing. In the background, you see another elm tree that is coming crossways. So that's another thing that you try to accomplish. If you can layer these trees in different directions, you start building this canopy over the top of the ground that provides an area where a deer can come in and lay down under the bases or the trunks of these trees. Basically almost like a little shelter when the weather gets very inclement in the fall and winter, when it's raining, snowing, and cold, windy. This provides a super place for these deer to come in and bed and get out of the weather. Also, when the does are getting ready to drop their fawns in the spring of the year, provides a phenomenal place for them to come in and lay down underneath of these suspended trees. Hopefully you got briars growing around, and it just gives them added protection from predators. Predators don't want to go through the briars or the stickers to get to the does and their fawns. So number 3, the third benefit from hinge cutting is you get a timber stand effect as well. I talked about taking down these trees, taking away the canopy from the forest ceiling, letting the sunlight in. Right over here is a white oak. The white oak is in between the hickory and this hard maple. It's been released somewhat by the hinge cutting of these two trees. It's allowing the morning east sun to shine directly on it. And what that does, when you have a nice oak tree or a mass producing tree, oaks produce acorns, and the acorn is a very preferred nut or seed by the deer. So eventually that lets that tree grow bigger, better, and produce more acorns, which in turn provides deer food right here in the forest, in the bedding area, close to maybe where you'll put a tree stand, or you'll have a food plot. And ideally you're wanting to attract and hold the deer in these bedding areas, and then you can strategically place your tree stands on the edge of the bedding areas, and then add a food plot to the area as well, and it just makes a nice complex unit to attract and hold the deer, which is very important during the hunting season when you're wanting to attract the does, because during the rut the bucks are searching out the does. So if you're attracting does into these bedding areas, then eventually there will be bucks, and most likely if there's does bedding in these areas, there's going to be bucks not too far away. They may not bed directly together, but and that's what I do when I come into a woodlot or a woodland. I'll look at the entire piece of property and try to identify multiple bedding areas throughout that little woodland or woodlot, and go in and pick what I consider bedding areas and start doing hinge cutting in all of those areas on an annual basis.